ladies and gentlemen. We are back with episode 94 of the ATL Falcons UK podcast. This week, I am joined by Mark, who is just advertised. Oh, is this side this time? Who has advertised our mug perfectly. I'm also repping our jersey. Nice little hoodie here, and I can see Liam is doing the same thing.
Sure am.
So this week we will be reviewing the loss against the Chiefs before rolling into hate week and previewing next week's match against the Saints. We have no guest this week. We just did not have the heart to bring in a Saints fan into the ATL Falcons UK podcast. So you are stuck with us today. Cal is unfortunately on night shifts, but he said he's going to jump in the comments on YouTube as soon as he gets the chance. So we're going to try and keep him part of the show and get him involved where we can. Right, boys, let's get straight to business. Mark, it was a bit of a tough pill to swallow, the loss, but how are you feeling?
Yeah, listen, I think we went into the game after we discussed it last week, and we said, look, I think we're going to give them a game. And by jingo, we did. I've seen some outrageous behavior on the socials over the past 12 to 15 hours. And I guess, although I was the one that came up with the name of the show. I want to caveat it, right? Because, some of the kind of general NFL UK social media today has been equally as honking, right?
It has.
I think kind of, what we need to remember is, it was, there were some horrific calls in that game. And actually, some of them, not just biased towards the Chiefs. I do think we got a couple of lucky ones as well. I think what it doesn't do is it doesn't paint the Chiefs fan base in this country in a very good light, right? If I'm honest.
Yeah.
We had our guest on last week who was kind of like, yeah, we're gonna go to another Super Bowl, and I kind of like I admired the confidence, but I think one thing that I'm seeing across the NFL UK spectrum at the minute is Chiefs fans are just essentially turning into the Pats fans of days gone by, where it's everyone's out to get them. They're not. You're just getting favorable calls every week. Like that is just as simple as it. I think there's a bigger piece yet to say. Actually, I think the officiating in the NFL as a whole is pretty poor. And I think ultimately, whether we like it or not, boys, we still have to admit that actually we still had that chance to win it on 4th and 1. And we didn't capitalize on it, right? And it was a poor play call. Let's not dress it up to anything other than what it was. It was a poor play call in the situation. Whether it was, we've heard people say it was Kirk. We've heard everyone go mad at Zach Robinson. Guys, this stuff's going to happen, right? And we've just taken the Chiefs to an absolute, couple of inches of potentially beating them. So I'm sorry, but I'm just not really in this let's all play the blame game. I think we gave them a game.
We did.
And actually the disappointment is that we're feeling right now is actually because we were really close to being able to win it. And I think if you juxtaposition that to where we were 12 months ago, right? It's just a different box of frogs altogether, right? So I still think we're the ones with the momentum. We've picked up some injuries, which I think for me is the biggest concern out of all of it.
Yeah.
But on the whole, again, progression. We looked better again. And we looked better against the reigning Super Bowl champions. So
exactly that. I think fans have the right to be disappointed in the result, but not in the performance. In my opinion, you can be disappointed with a loss. That's normal. We should be, but we did not perform badly by any stretch of the imagination. We actually performed very, very well, bar an odd play here and there, but that's going to happen over the course of a 60-minute game. That is literally the nature of sport. It's just unfortunate that last night they happened to fall at really, really pivotal times as opposed to in the middle of the field. But that's football.
Well, listen, 100%. And you know, it's always going to happen in football. Always, right? It's one of the joys of the sport. It's why we watch it, right? And actually, one thing that I will say before move on to Liam is, guys, we had a first year player caller playing against arguably one of the best coaches in NFL history.
Yeah.
Right. And it was a game decided by 1 yard.
Yeah.
Right. So actually, when you think about it like that, and anybody who thinks, oh, it was purely the busted calls that were the difference, it just wasn't. You know, like there was a lot more to that game that that I think contributed to the loss, right? And again, we have to compartmentalize this a little bit more, where we go, actually, yes, let's just own the mistakes, right? But let's own the progression as well. Like after game one, we were all concerned. I'm now not that concerned, and I think that's why heading into these 3 divisional games, you know, I think we've got we've got a hell of an opportunity.
There's a lot to be hopeful for, isn't there?
100%.
We'll jump to Liam and then we'll circle back around, because I feel like this is going to be a very back and forth one. So go on, Liam.
Yeah, I was a bit frustrated at the end of it with sort of like coming so close, but just not being able to, to deliver. But I think overall, I think we played very well. I think the Chiefs played well in patches, and we sort of matched them with good play as well. We have obviously some dodgy calls, but ultimately, I think we could have performed a little bit better in certain areas, and I think that would have tipped it over the edge. I think that probably the difference in the end between the two teams was one could run the ball and one couldn't. That's pretty much it. I mean, the Chiefs didn't run it like amazingly well, but they were far more efficient, certainly on the first down than we were. Bijan ended up like 1.7 yards a carry, which for him at his standard, it's not good. And I don't, that could have been down to various things. It could have been, I don't know, when Bijan himself didn't have a good game, whether the play calls weren't good, the Chiefs defense was good. It could be a combination of the three. What ultimately we have a number 8 overall pick and supposedly a top run blocking offensive line for majority of the game. Obviously, some of them got banged up, which wouldn't have helped. And we didn't run the ball very effectively. The Chiefs had, according to their own fans, sort of a questionable offensive line this year, and had an undrafted rookie starting his first ever game, and managed to sort of outrun us. And that's probably where they delivered, really. And maybe that was play calls or whatever it was, or just moments. But I think if we'd have had just a solid run game where we got, even the sort of like the 3 or 4 yards that the Chiefs ended up with per carry, we probably would have won it, because we would have had, a few more first downs. That's probably all it took was a couple more first downs, and especially where that patch, didn't we, in the sort of middle of the game where we went like 4 or 5 drives without a single first down. That kind of cost us, where we looked a bit inefficient, especially after that first drive. We looked awesome, like we could just move the ball in any way we wanted, and then it kind of like went backwards a little bit, and then we got going again. But just by the time we got going again, it was just a little bit too late. Sort of time on the clock, but we were still there at the very end. We were still there for 1 play away from probably winning it. But ultimately, it's if our issue is that we just didn't quite get the run game going enough. I mean, against the top team, it's not the worst issue to have. If we looked absolutely dump and we just got, couldn't move the ball at all, and like the Chiefs just walked all over us, this would be a different story, wouldn't it? But we're one phase of the game away, probably in, and I'd say that in probably the 2 games that we've lost. I think in the first game, we didn't pass the ball probably well enough or consistently enough.
Yeah.
That's one phase that we probably lost the game on. And then this was probably our phase was the running the ball, and defense probably performed really well on all three occasions that we played so far. So if we can just deliver consistently on all phases of the ball, we'll look very good. I think we'll be good this season. But I think a lot of the criticism was towards some of the play calls, but I don't think the play calls are actually bad. I think some individual play calls were bad, but play calling as a whole was not bad in that game. I thought we saw some good stuff, and the way that London got open, the way that we got Mooney open, Pitts open, which is something we've never seen. They were good play calls for me. So and we got deep ball. Like Pitts was going for 50 yards at one point, which
exactly.
Like we knew he could do that. Like that was the point of him, but we've just never seemed to be able to do it for some reason. And that he was not far away from getting a touchdown.
Absolutely. Well, that's the thing. We're very much a work in progress, and you could see the work was progressing. Pardon to use the same term twice, but we did not look like a team like we looked like last season. If you put last year's Falcons team against that Chiefs team, then regardless of the quality they were playing at, we would have got absolutely toasted, because that's just where we were at that time. And I'm convinced that if we perform like that against 75% of the teams that we're going to play this season, we'll come out with a win pretty much all of the time. These divisional games, like Mark said, are very, very key now. But coming off the back of those three progressive performances, I'm not concerned. I'm not saying we're going to win them all, but I'm not concerned like I was. I'm concerned about injuries, but not about the performances that we're putting out.
I think for me, we got out coached, right? Yeah. Like Andy Reid set up to make sure he made adjustments to make sure that we didn't run the ball effectively, right? So, and that's what world-class coaches do, right? So, I totally get that. It kind of goes from game to game where we feel a little bit imbalanced, right? But I guess one thing that stuck with me going into this game was Chris Jones is going to wreak havoc. Chris Jones is going to, just going to be another TJ Watt situation. And I mean, the Gazer causes problems, but they focused that defensive line so much more into stopping the run, which caused us to be imbalanced, right? So it's not really a slight to say that we got outcoached by arguably the best in the business right now, and arguably one of the best, probably will go down as one of the best that there has been. So I just, for me, some of the mad tweets about, Zach Robinson again, it's really unfortunate that was the play that is always going to be kind of talked about. But
little caveat to the 4th and inches call, though. Bijan Robinson in the interview after the game said that was Kirk Cousins that called that on the line, not the OC. So even though we can say the play calls were bad, we can't associate them to Kirk or OC at any point in the game, because we don't really know who was firing the shots at any one given time. So going out for one individual is dramatic. It's a team game. Yeah, the calls matter, but we're new to this.
Yeah. And listen, even I think the biggest frustration is that, I mean, it's why you pay your quarterback as much money as you do, right?
Yeah,
you're gonna pay him that kind of money, and you're gonna listen to him, right? And that's cool. And I know just from everything we've heard from Kirk since he arrived, right, that if that was his call, then he'll take ownership of it. Right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But I guess the frustration was, if those outside runs weren't working, why would they have worked on 4th and 1? Right? Like, and if I've got any frustration whatsoever about the game yesterday, Algier seemed to be working better up the middle. So if that is the case, then just utilize your guys, right? So look, again, I don't really want to yammer on about it. I think we just have to to your point, Danny, remember this is a work in progress, right?
Yeah.
And to get as close as we did yesterday, under the conditions that we were under yesterday, with certain factors, it always. I think the frustration is that those calls seem to get missed at the most pivotal moments.
They do.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
it's never in the middle of the field when you're 40 yards away from goal.
The face mask on Ray as well was a big one for me. Just I mean, the guy nearly took his head off, and you read comments from people and that they're like, that's not a face mask, and the dude's head was nearly clean off his shoulders at one point. And you're like, oh, come on, guys, like let's grow up here a little bit. But again, we still have despite all of that, we were still in with a shot that late on. So let's just take them. I think this genuinely has to be an occasion of, and we've sat here in group therapy a gazillion times and gone, this was awful, this was awful, this was awful, this was awful. And actually to still be in it that late in the game, despite the refs' inconsistencies, I think we've got a lot to be proud of.
Yeah.
I
think they made some big. We defended well, especially sort of towards our red zone, and they had a lot of the ball. The Chiefs, didn't they? They managed to have some really, really long drives, which it's hard for defense to sort of keep up against, especially against the way that they played that game. And I think the amount of just dynamic third down play calls that they have in their locker is just very hard to handle. Like we were getting on third down, we were like, I could feel like we were on 3rd and 6. I just worry that's a hard thing to pick up. Yeah. When the Chiefs were on it, I was just like, what have they got this time? Like, and they Rashee Rice was open by about like 5-6 yards or something. And I was like, it's not our defense knowing that missing him, because he's Kelsey would say, but obviously he's not performing as well as he can sometimes. But Rashee Rice is the main threat, and the fact that their main threat is 5 yards open is not because we've gone, we're not gonna track him this time. It's just the whatever play call it was, he's just got him open, and the amount of times that they can do that with things that you just hard to come up with. It's very hard to stop on a defense, especially on a defense where they're on sort of like 15th play of the drive, because they're just churning it downfield. It's absolutely relentless. Yeah. It's just like, God, like they must be absolutely exhausted trying to stop that Carson Steele just slamming it up the middle again and again and again. And then obviously Mahomes just gonna, he's got to find open receivers. So, it's just it's a tough one. But even with those efficient drives, we sort of did the opposite, where we were inefficient at times, but we made big players, especially compared to the Chiefs. Yeah, and that was our way of moving the ball. We had some big chunk players, far less possession time, but we moved. I think the yardage in the end wasn't even that much different.
No.
So, we did a different approach, and just at the end, it was one player.
It ended like a similar amount of yards, but we had like half the amount of throws.
Possession time. Yeah, we barely had the ball. It felt like for a lot of that game, just because they had it such long drives, especially in that, I think it was second period. But it was tough. But ultimately we're a few, not even just that last play, but a few plays in the game could have won us that. Just one more first down, I think we win it, and I'll take that against Super Bowl champions.
Give them a game, we're getting better.
Yeah,
without a doubt. I'm going to jump in the comments real fast because we got a couple. One off our missing co-host tonight. Basically,
hi Carl.
Hi Carl, if you're still watching on shift. I won't say where he works just in case his boss finds him. But yeah, Carl basically echoing our thoughts, taking a top team to the last drive, small mistakes and we would have won it. It is massive progress. Like we said, if you offered us that this time last year, we would have been like, what? Take the Chiefs within 56 seconds of potentially winning the game. We would have been like, yeah, I think that'll do. Let's have a look. Paul is in the comments. I'm pretty sure Paul was up with me last night. Not with me, but it was on socials last night when we were watching it. Part of the 4:30 a.m. club by the time it finished. USA Sports, I know you were also on as well because you were back and forth with me all the time. So thank you for watching. And for a third week running, we've got Christy from South Mississippi. Hello again. Sorry, it's not a winning show this time. We did what we could. So a few more talking points about it. I'm not going to get too negative because you can tell we're all in kind of the same sort of space. But it would be bad of us not to talk specifically about the PI that ultimately changed the trajectory of the game a little bit. I know there's the I know there's the argument that if we scored that touchdown, then the Chiefs get the ball and there's 4 and a bit minutes left, and we would have only been 2 points in the lead at that time, I think. So ultimately, they could have gone up the other end of the field and won it. But it is still a tough blow to take when you're that close, literally 1 call away from a touchdown to go ahead with minutes left on the clock. I'm not saying we lost because of the officials, but you can't deny that moments like that do change the trajectory of games.
Yes, they do. And I think, like I said at the beginning of the show, right? I think the almost the problem with the Chiefs is, they are the team that are getting the most consistently.
Yeah.
So I guess we should have expected it, right? And I suppose coming so close, decisions like that make it harder to swallow. Yeah. And they do, right? And there was a couple yesterday that I thought maybe there's something in this conspiracy. There's a photo of the face mascot Matthew Judon, and the guy looks like, I don't know if I've got any fellow late 90s, early 90s WWE wrestling fans. But it looks like Mr. Judon was getting a Mr. Socko. Because the guy's hand looks like it's completely in his mouth. And like I mentioned about the Ray one, I've tried really, really hard today to be as objective as I can.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't seem to stop. And I think the problem with that the Chiefs are going to continue to have is that the more this continues to happen, the more the narrative is going to get louder and louder, right? And up until, I'm not going to say it's changed since last night, but up until now, I've kind of been like, look,
stop being dramatic.
Like they're the big team, right?
Yeah.
They're the next.
They're the poster boys.
Dynasty, right? If you want to call it that.
Yes.
And it's like, the Patriots always seem to be the same as well. Once upon a time. So maybe it is just a perception thing. I don't know. I think the problem that I have with it is now this kind of pompousness of the Chiefs fan base around it, including my old head coach, who I sort of had like a little bit, not to do, but like I kind of just said, you're really not doing your fan base many favors by consistently quoting Nigel Farage. For me, I'm just, I suppose I'm kind of putting it down to part and parcel of the game at the minute. It does feel like the officials across the board, across the NFL, every weekend, they're missing stuff. They're making bad decisions. And I'm sure Liam's going to mention it. The officials last night were awful. Like they weren't even getting people's names right when they were calling out.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, guys, come on. Like it almost kind of feels that they're not even trying, right? So.
Yeah. Well, it was across the board, in my opinion, as well. I feel ours were more detrimental calls, but they definitely got some the other way, because after that PI call, when the Bucks had their when the Chiefs had their drive, and we regained possession pretty sharpish. After that, we got 3 calls back to back to back that, in my opinion, 2 were very soft, and that was almost, from my perception, again, like, oh, we made an error, let's try and make up for it. But we don't want compensating for an error, for your previous error. We just want fair and even consistently. That's all. So it didn't matter that you didn't give us the PI. Don't give us 3-0 calls on the bounce just for the sake of doing it. I'd rather not have them, and then you're being consistent at least. But
there's a referee in Britball. I won't say his name, but he's a real. I mean, the guy must be in his 80s, right? And he used to openly say if he made a bad call or whatever, he would go, "Oh, I'll give you something on the next one."
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
And it's crazy, right? And I used to, you know, I seen fully grown men threaten to decapitate that man on the field, and I just go, guys, you know, I mean, I could almost swallow it in Division 2 Britball, but you know, this is the NFL, right? Like, you know, at some point, this has got you're kind of affecting the integrity of the game, and that's why everyone hated the Patriots.
Yeah.
So, you know. And I think Kansas City are just in that zone now where the more they kind of go, oh, it's so boring. Everyone says the same thing. Well, yeah, because it's happening every week.
Yeah. There we go. Go on, Liam. Yeah. Anything to add before we try and come away from the negativity again? That was my fault. I did inflict this on us.
No, I mean, you know, it was a pretty blatantly bad call. I think, you know, it's one in the end zone, so it's kind of, you know, all eyes are on that moment. So it's not even like there's a lot going on. It's kind of just that, and you know, usually the telling sign for a lot of officials is, you know, if the guy's got his back to the ball, it's not a good sign that he's not going for the ball. He wasn't even facing the right way. He's only got one intention.
Yeah.
And yes, you know, because he's got to tackle him when he got the ball. He didn't know the ball was coming. He was the other way. He was just going to take Pitts out of the end zone. That was his plan.
Yeah.
The only way he could have known that the ball was in his general area was when it hit him in the back when he tried to catch it.
Yeah, because he couldn't see it coming. Like, he could have obviously predicted that he might go there, but that means his intention was, I'm not going to let him catch the ball. I'm going to take him out of the back of the end zone, and I'm going to push him out of the end zone, and that was it. So if that was his intention, then even if the ball didn't come his way, you can't do that. So the fact it was coming his way and he still did it, and then obviously brought the catch. I don't really understand how they can't
call it interfering with the pass.
One might. For me,
it was just a wild one.
If that's a corner doing that 20 yards deeper up the field, and it's a wide receiver trying to catch the ball, they give it like that. But because it's in the end zone, everything's a bit more like, oh, if we call it wrong, then it's a big error. And defense always seems to get the benefit in that instance, whereas I'm pretty sure the fans would always rather see the offense.
Well, they do in Kansas City anyway.
I mean, exactly.
It does bring up the question of should coaches be able to challenge more PI calls?
Yeah,
100%. Like that, such as that. I know it's in the last 2 minutes and all that, and they can't challenge anyway, and they have to. It was in the last 2 minutes. It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and they have to review it, but they can't review that. But surely, if they had the option to review that, that would have been an easy change of call.
Yeah. It's a quick review, that, isn't it? They watch it back once and go, oh, there we go.
Yeah, surely. Yeah.
And I almost go, that's why they did it then.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because like you're in that kind of phase of the game, you know, so just do it, because worst case scenario, you get the penalty, and best case scenario, doesn't matter because they can't review it.
Yeah.
So, you know, it sounds underhand, but you know,
it was
the dark arts, isn't it?
It was literally like watching a college game where they know obviously they get the 15-yard penalty instead of the spot of the ball, so they just literally clean guys out because they know that 15 yards over 60 yards is a lot better. So it was like that. He just thought, I'm taking him out. Just went for him.
Listen, I hate to keep making this reference, but Division 2 Britball boys, like you kind of get told, don't worry, PI is only a 10-15 yard penalty, so just do it.
It's if he somehow knew the ball was coming there or thought he might be coming to Pitts, his options are a touchdown or I take him out and hope for the best. Like, Season's gone.
Yeah,
What happens here? If he's catching the ball, he's catching the ball. So take him out. Or probably thinking he's going to get given against him, but at least he stopped the touchdown to that point in time.
Yeah,
but it worked.
And that's that's my like. Some of the Kansas fans that I've been interacting with today.
Yes.
If that was the response, look, they did what they had to do. Right.
Yeah, not saying it's right, but he did it.
Then cool. I could have some. I could go along with it. But all of this. Everyone's down again. Us grow up.
Right, let's jump in the comments again. Real sharpish, as there's quite a few building up. Bit of a call from R. Johnson. We have no business losing any of the next 3 games. Hopefully we can get over the mental hopes. Am I reading that right? And the O-line injuries. O-line injuries is something that we need to move on to a little bit. It's come out today that McGarry's is an MCL sprain.
MCL sprain, yeah.
Yeah. And it's going to be on a day-to-day basis until all of the tests are done and stuff. But that's not going to be a quick return by any means, I don't think. So that's a bit of a hit there.
Storm Norton season, baby. Woo!
Well, this is the thing. The O-line didn't completely crumble yesterday when we lost 2 in the first half. There was a few individual plays where Cousins had 0.5 seconds to get rid of the ball, and you thought, what on earth happened there? But as a whole, the level wasn't staggeringly different where I thought that's the specific thing that's killed our game. So I'm hoping the depth can carry us. The only issue being now, the depth after the current depth is me with pads on. So we're going to...
Well, we went out and signed the guy who was on the Raiders and then went to 49ers for like a day and then left again. Yeah. So what I guess what I'm trying to say is, look, there is depth, right?
Yeah.
In the trenches, there is always an additional risk of injury, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's football is next man up. I think the only drawback for me of losing McGarry, because Storm Norton is better in pass pro, which when you consider the size difference is wild, right? But never mind. But I think the only thing with losing McGarry is that McGarry is an accomplished run blocker. So we have to fix that deficiency that's now going to be in the line. And listen, I mean, I think it depends on the sprain, but I would say even best case scenario, we probably don't see McGarry for at least 6 to 8 games.
Yeah, it's a strong possibility, which is a kick in the teeth. But like you said, it's what your roster's for. And if you can't depend on if you can't cover one injury in each position, then your depth isn't good enough. So we shouldn't be shaking too much. Sorry, just looking at the comments again.
So I just Googled it. The crack.
Sorry.
I just Googled it for the crack.
Go on.
You have a mild sprain on your MCL, will usually recover in about 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, but
I reckon. So I would say you stick him on IR, and lose him for 4 games.
Back
3 out of those 4 games are against divisional rivals. So
back by week 8, week 7, week 8, week 9, that kind of period with half a season still to play. Not too shabby, really.
And let's not forget, he played the whole first game, and we were sitting on here wishing he hadn't. So
yeah, exactly. Hindsight's a beautiful thing, isn't it? So go on, Liam.
I would say hopefully it's something you can maybe play through with a brace or something like that after a few games. I know it's a tough thing to ask, but sometimes they do it, or they just strap it up and go. And you maybe will, but he's going to miss. I think he's going to miss at least 2. Could be 3.
Absolutely.
Dahlman is the biggest
He looked very. I've not seen what the issue was, but he looked hurt.
Yeah,
in terms of his face.
And the fact that unless anything's come out since we've been on here, the fact that nothing has come out is usually more concerning, because why is there no news yet? So you don't think?
Well, not really, because like it's.
Oh, actually, cancel my last high ankle sprain against the Chiefs. He's expected to miss some time and will probably end up on a short-term IR. And that's Ian Rappapaw.
As a big fella with glass ankles, I can tell you that could, that's going to be
that's 4 games out then.
I would say that's probably 4 games out at least, and very strong ankle straps and painkillers.
Nice. Get them injections in him.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Back in no time.
That's a concerning one, definitely, for sure. That one. I'm a little bit more confident in our tackle backup than I am in our interior backup.
Yeah,
agreed.
Absolutely. Jump back to the comments. Another one, need to sweep the division. But as a comment below this says, the Panthers were the only ones that came out with a win in the division. And how that happened after the first 2 games is mind-boggling. Yes, they've changed the quarterback, but that's it. That alone is not. I'm not having it. Bryce Young is not that bad of a quarterback. I actually don't mind him.
No, and I think it was really interesting. Antonio Pierce came out, and I watched it a little bit on Red Zone. The Raiders looked awful, and I mean, absolutely horrific.
Which again is absolutely baffling, because last week they looked like contenders. So where's the consistency?
Well, I mean, I think it's probably a case to say there's not many teams that have consistency. But one thing that I would stress is Antonio Pierce came out after the game, Raiders head coach, and said there were players out there that made business decisions today.
Yeah.
Which I think is possibly the wildest comment to make as a head coach, where you've gone through training camp with a bunch of players and now you're accusing your own players of just deciding, not today. I ain't doing it today. So I think that's I think it's probably a good market to put on first head coach to get fired, if I'm honest. Because that tells me that maybe he's already lost some of the locker room. I guess my point around this is I'm not sure how much we should read into that, because I do genuinely feel like that it was more the Raiders lost that game than Carolina won.
Yeah, fair enough. It's still a big scoreline to throw away.
They played well. A lot of like they were way more up for it than they've been in the last couple of weeks, and maybe they saw that game as a winnable game, which on paper they probably, of all the games in this season, that's got to be one of the ones that they were definitely targeting. They ran the ball, they've not been able to run the ball at all, and they ran the ball for 120 yards or something like that, which was just out of nowhere. And Dalton threw some absolutely phenomenal touchdown passes. And just the accumulation of that, they still were pretty bad on defense against a bad team. They still gave up 22 points against a team that looked all over the place. But it was just a battle of 2 bad teams, and one's got a quarterback who we've seen Dalton deliver before, haven't we? Really well. We've seen him have terrible games, we've seen him have great games. He's one of them quarterbacks who you just look and think, I don't know what I'm going to get today. And he had one of his good days. So and it worked out. I don't believe he will have his good days for the rest of the season.
No.
And there will be bad days. So I think in terms of our games against them, let's hope that we've probably got enough, you'd hope so still, to stop even one of his good days. I think we'll have a lot more to offer than the Raiders.
Yeah. So should we use this opportunity to swivel to hate week?
Yes.
So it's a nice little 20 minutes or so of criticizing the Aints. and saying how much we're going to absolutely smash them. So let's get a little overview from you both first. Just touch the surface. How are you feeling based on their performances so far this season, ours, fitness and matchups?
Well, so I watched quite a lot of that game yesterday against Philly. And I think somehow everyone would, and I said this, I think I said this last week. First game was Carolina, right? And arguably that was Carolina's worst game so far. And then they went and absolutely smashed the Cowboys. Cowboys were once again horrendous yesterday, right?
Yeah.
So again, you look at the sample size and who they've played and what they've done, right? And I think that Philadelphia played way better against us than they did against that mob yesterday. Philadelphia looked completely out of sorts. Again, being saved quite a lot by Jalen Hurts and that scrambling that he does, right? So I think one thing that I will say, and this is probably the only positive you're going to get out of me on behalf of that filthy, horrible mob down the road, is they do look better than I thought they were going to. Olave continues to be one of those players that I lament him being a Saint, because he is that good. But guys, Derek Carr is Derek Carr, right? He seems to have these kind of, either he plays absolutely awful or he can play lights out, right? Which means that we need to be very, very wary of that connection with Olave, right? Because that still caused Philadelphia problems this weekend. Kamara, again, looks to be revving up the engine, but as we know, Kamara again can do really well, but he can also, he can be out for half the season. So I don't think this is a matchup that we should be concerned about, but I think this is a matchup that we have got to make sure that progression carries on, because if we are not at our best against this lot, then the way that they've played so far this season, they could cause us some problems.
We become another notch on their high-scoring bedpost if we don't decide to rock up.
Yeah.
Go on, Liam.
Yeah, I mean, so I think we've got, on paper, again, like we said at the start of the season, we should have that better team. I think we've got to shut down Kamara. I think he's still the guy that they go to and rely upon, to make some big plays and also just get them in sort of like more efficient positions for Carr. Obviously, they've got two explosive receivers that they look like they've got this year. And obviously, Shaheed and Olave can both run good route runners. And I think that's the key players. What I've been surprised about is the way that the defense is actually playing pretty well. I didn't really think that did play well. Obviously, the offense I did not expect to be they're like the top point scorers considerably by like 20 odd points, like more than any other team after 3 games. But obviously, they put up awards against the Panthers and them, which kind of imbalanced it a little bit. But you've got like 5 or 6 interceptions so far in 3 games, which kind of worried me a little bit. I didn't really expect them sort of numbers from the secondary that has not got what I can think of. It's not got like it's got whatever it's called, Matthew, and then I not got anybody else that I could think of that's any good. Latimore, I don't think he's even one that's like been getting interceptions. But they struggled a little bit against the Eagles. They massively struggled against Saquon, which not going to say that's a massive negative on them because a lot of teams will. But we we handled him a little bit better, and I think we can. We can run the ball. I mean, I'm not going to say that Bijan is like Saquon. Yeah, he's a different style of runner, and he's got a way to go to become that kind of level. Because obviously, that's not necessarily a bad thing on Bijan. Saquon is possibly the best pure runner in the league. If you look at the classic running back rather than McCaffrey, more about the receiving style, Barkley's just a pure running beast. He absolutely smashed into pieces yesterday. He ran for 9 yards a carry average across the game, which is insane. That gives me a bit more confidence that we can move the ball on the ground, which I think was obviously the missing component this week. If we can stay away from those interceptions and Kirk can be pretty just efficient with the ball, I think we should be all right. But it's going to be more of a game than I thought he might be pre-season.
And one thing to note is, for me, they have made a lot of interceptions, but again, we've got to remember who they played, and watching as much as I did of the game against Philly, Hurts was not throwing the ball well.
We know this is what Hurts is like, don't we? He's absolutely firing one week, and then the next he looks like a bottom tier quarterback. So we can just hope that was the kind of game he was having, and Cousins isn't going to drop the same level.
Can't be another Alabama quarterback that's having trouble, is it?
He got drafted from Oklahoma. We don't want him anymore.
I got a little prediction from Wayne in the comments of Aints 14, Falcons 17. That would be agonizingly painful to witness. However, I assume that would be a field goal to win the game right at the end. So I'd take that as well, just for the drama. Another from Christie. The Aints plan on running the ball and feel like no one in the division can stop them. I don't know. I feel like I'm not concerned by them. I know this is going to seem really passive now and really like non-analytical at all.
You are taking a run up at this, and I have told you before about jinxing this.
I know. I think what it is, because I came into this season with such low expectations of the Saints and the Bucks, that this start is just it's not concerned me, because I just keep thinking it's got to be a fluke. It's got to be a fluke. They've got to crumble at some point, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I just feel like that's my corrupt mindset at the moment in time, that we are the better team than them.
Well, and Raheem said it right. We've got to outrun the South.
Yeah,
and ironically, that's now what we're faced with, right? So I guess we should be looking at that Kansas City game from last week, going, we should have won that, right? But we're 1-2, which is roughly where most of us thought we would be anyway, right? So if we go into this stretch of divisional games, and come out 4-2, then I mean, I'm not gonna lie, boys, but that's that's the platform we need.
Absolutely.
And from this weekend, I'm not even considering that Carolina are going to go on a run. I don't think that's going to happen, right? I stand to it that I think the Raiders were just awful. And actually this weekend, everyone, Baker Mayfield. Bucks looked awful against a Bo Nix-led offense.
Yeah.
Right. So let's just again compartmentalize this, boys, right? Last week when we beat Philly and the Saints and the Bucks were 2-0, everyone was going absolutely bananas, right? I think now what we need to do is we need to establish ourselves in this division, and it's this is the test. These next 3 games are the test. Like after these 3 games, it's kind of almost back into the unknown, but we've got the opportunity to make the step now. And, this is, for me, this is the best time to catch them all.
Well, at the start of the season, I had us on for clean sweep in the division, mainly because fundamentally, if you clean sweep the division, your chances of going through to the playoffs substantially increase. I'd love Statsman Liam to pull up a statistic on that.
I don't think it'd be possible not to go to.
Yeah,
because you'd win it.
Because everybody else is. You'd have to.
Yeah.
But I just think that the progression we've seen so far, how Cousins is looking a little bit more mobile because he did, and he's quick firing on decisions much more. I just don't see a way that we don't rack up points again. And then ultimately, the defense at the moment in time has been our guiding light, really. They've been the steady ones that, and I know I'll probably jinx them as well, sorry Mark, but they've been the ones that have kept us alive for all of these games so far. And I just think the more snaps Cousins gets with these offensive talents, I think the better and better it'll get for us.
Sorry, go on in.
I was going to say one thing, that offense that I know, like we're comparing to last year. I think we remember how many times were we saying our receivers were one-dimensional in terms of they were physical, big guys, and that's all we kind of had. And we couldn't get downfield, players too long to develop, and so on. Cut to this year, we've got two bigger guys.
Yeah.
Your Kyle Pitts and your Drake London, they were sort of take a little bit long to get going, but a big, taller, rangy receivers.
Yeah.
We've added in two speed guys in Ray. Obviously, we technically added in 3, but one's injured. We've added in Mooney and Ray, and that just gives us a whole different dynamic on that offense where we can now actually go ball in hand to some route runners or go over the top. And we just never had that before. And that's just given us a completely different, so much more balance on that offensive side of the ball in the passing game. Yeah. Where, I'm not going to say it was a solved, but like with Ridder last year, yes, obviously he had other issues, but so long he had to hold onto the ball because Drake London is not a pure speed guy. It's just not his game. His game is bodying up against some corner and dominating him. He's not, he takes a while to get going. Pitts takes a while to get going. Like, we didn't have those sharp, short routes, and now we've got them. So I think that's opened up that offense a lot more.
And I think one thing I'll just add to that, because we said it quite a lot last year, is we're not getting any yards after catch.
We are now. Yeah.
We are now.
Yeah.
And that's again what makes this offense like a lot more dimensional, right?
Yeah.
And that's where we can hurt teams. And I'm like I think one of the key, and there is a comment about it, so I'm just going to quickly flash it up, right? These horrible individuals will be doing everything they can to try and bait us, right? Yeah. And if there's one person that I trust to hype up what this game means, but keep heads where they need to be, a team. So I think one of the focuses for this week is don't retaliate. Don't be running your mouth. Don't be giving it large. Just, and I watched back some footage this morning of what they did to Devontae Smith.
Oh, God, it was awful.
Which ironically as well, to the previous conversation, wasn't flagged. And just remember, this is the same team. I won't go into conspiracy theories, but this is the same team that had Bountygate, right? Same organization.
Yeah.
Right. So absolute filth, and we need to make sure that we keep our heads this week.
Without a doubt. Just a couple of comments on the same point, so I'm going to bounce into them. Something that I picked up on during the game last night as well. For me, Tyler came into the game significantly far too late.
Yeah,
but then the second he comes in, he just bulldozes, and I don't understand. Maybe it's just transitional whilst we're trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. But why we wouldn't flicker between the two, to me, makes no sense at all. Tyler has one very, very good purpose, and that's fighting hard, short yards.
Yeah.
Whereas Bijan's there for your flair, and he's going to snap a few ankles and probably get a bit of a bigger game. But we don't seem to have quite pinpointed utilising them in the right types of plays yet. Even though it's clear and obvious, there must be something well beyond me for the reasoning. But they've got very different purposes, and they're not used accordingly at the moment in time.
I feel like we could definitely get I know it's like first down is something you're running down and you want to get the most production, but I feel like sometimes with some of the run calls that we have, LG is probably going to get a few more yards than BJ on those first downs, where, especially when we're going sort of on that the inside zone or straight or the middle. He'll get you those. He'll get us to more like 2nd and 5 positions, where I think Bijan struggles to get past sort of like the 2nd and 7, 2nd and 8 sometimes, because he's physical, but he's not an absolute unit like Algier is. He doesn't run as hard as Algier is. He runs more with a trickier style, doesn't he? And then if we're going to run it, if we get to those 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4s, that is to me where Bijan can be used even more, because then you've got a Bijan run, a pass to Bijan, or just a pass, and that's where a little bit more confusion in terms of what we could do, and that's what he needs. He's an open space guy, isn't he? Really, he's not a guy that's going to just graft out yards all game. That's just not really his style. He needs ball in open space, and he will. That's what he produces.
I think this is an aggressive defensive front we're coming up against, right?
Yeah.
So, and listen, I think I just kind of feel like that's a little bit of a missing link at the minute, and I think if we can, if this is the week that we crack that, what better week?
Yeah, 100%.
So we also get a nice little kickoff time for us all. Don't know if anyone's finally relieved of a nice little 6 p.m. So I assume, depending on availability, you'll both be able to watch it live and in the flesh this time, hopefully. Do you want to drop score predictions, or is that too jinxy for this kind of game? You're both very hesitant.
Yeah, of course I do. Because I want us to win, and there's no team I hate more than these people. So I was close, but
that was like the coin went into the swear jar, but then just was on a string.
And then I picked it back up. I was channeling my inner Carl there. Yes, I will, and I'm gonna say 28-15.
Okay, all right, that's reasonable. Liam, have you got a?
I was going to go 24-14.
Okay. I was going to be dead boring and go 21-14 with no nice little field goals to touch it off, but that's confident. Wait, I assume you meant to the Falcons.
Oh, yeah, to the Falcons,
because sometimes sometimes curveball is like that. So
no, to the Falcons. I had us down winning both games, and I was a little bit more worried over the first couple of weeks, and I would have been normally, but I think I've seen enough from us the last 2 weeks and them this week to put the balance in our favour, especially at home.
Yeah,
I'm liking it. I'm liking the confidence, and I think that is the only way to go with these kind of games. Sorry, I just got distracted by a comment because I was about to say it next anyway. But yeah, unless anyone's got any other business, we'll start to draw it to a close, or any other key points about the Saints game that we might have skimmed over.
I just think it's been such a wild start to the season. Nobody to me has looked hugely convincing, and I include the Chiefs in that, right? And I kind of go, okay, well you're one mad game away from getting that loss, right? Because they've played close games every single game.
Yeah.
So for me, this season is still wide open for anybody, right? I mean, Christ, look at the Vikings, right? And I will say this again, and I will say this with chest, I told you about Sam Darnold.
Do you know what? About 4 seasons ago, you told us about Sam Darnold, and every season since, you've continued to tell us about Sam Darnold.
I said he will. He's got something. I gave up 2 years ago, but I was saying it for quite a few years where I think he's still got something, and I was like, I eventually gave up. I was like, he's not got something, but now back on he's got something. Now he's back on he's got something.
In Carolina.
Everybody, no, I gave up when he was at the Jets. I think, but no, I think he's had enough absolute shockers for me to warrant giving up. But he's always shown that he can play. He's never.
He ain't seen any more ghosts out there in
yeah. No, he's played very well, and you know, I don't know whether he'll keep it up, but we'll see. The Seahawks are another team that have looked
yeah
very good.
The one London game that I'm going to this year is Jets Vikings, right? And the only reason I booked those tickets was because one of my best mates is a Jets fan, and he booked it for a couple of us, and he's already pied it off because he's got it. He's double booked himself for the weekend, and so I'm arguably going to see probably 2 of the potentially spiciest teams in London this year, and I think it's going to be a great game. I was quite adamant at the beginning of the season. I really didn't like some of the personnel moves that the Vikings have made. So all I'm saying is it's there for the taking for anybody. And arguably, you could say the Vikings have probably looked more consistent and convincing than the Chiefs have.
Yeah, I think they've looked good.
They have, and every single week on my little preview things that I've been doing over on TikTok, I've had them. Nope, it's a loss. Nope, it's a loss. Because I did not believe in Darnold. I just did not believe, and I am repenting.
That's why you made the mistake, Daniel. That's why you made the mistake.
I was just so convinced that JJ was going to be the man, and they needed him to start, and Darnold was there for security. And whether he was there for security or not, he's done the business.
Yeah. And they absolutely decimated. And obviously, the Texans had both their running backs missing, which is huge for them. But they've got obviously an incredible passing game, which I thought could get them out of that because the weapons that they've got and the quarterback that they've got.
No, sir.
Absolutely smashed them to pieces. Darnold just literally you just threw it all over the place. Aaron Jones is obviously an incredible addition.
Yeah.
He's a phenomenal player.
But they lost
Jefferson.
They lost Hunter. If you'd ask me, could I name more than 5 to 10 players on that team? I'd struggle, right? So I guess my point around any of that business was this season continues to be wild.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's beyond the realm of imagination. Should the progression continue, if we can keep that main core healthy, and I think there was a comment a little bit earlier on around anxiety around those injuries, and yes, sure, that it's not ideal by any stretch of imagination, but there's almost part of me that goes, well, fine, let's get if we can go on this divisional stretch for the next 3 games, and then potentially get McGarry and Darman back. Then that's it's a good position to be in, because then it builds up that momentum, and that's what we need, right? I do not want to be in a position where we're it goes down to a divisional game, the last game of the season to win the division. It just can't happen.
No, not by any stretch of the imagination would that make a fun season to be had. Because as much as we love our boys, we know we like to Falcon when it all matters, and we just can't afford to put ourselves in a situation where that's even a possibility. Right.
I think we've got a comment, Danny, on your favorite topic.
Ha! Yeah, we have. So somebody's just said merch. And do you know what? It's really funny that you say that, because 3 of us are sat. Well, Mark's actually got his covered up, which is absolutely.
Yeah, I've got my Carco jersey on. Come on.
Yeah, he has got a new jersey on, so we have to allow it. You'll see we are modelling some very new, stunning hoodies with our little logo and some personalisation. You can have numbers, initials. Mark can rotate his cup. You can have any number you want on that mug, any number at all, even that one that's there on the screen. So our website will be up and running on Wednesday, which is delightful. We are going to be popping some more photos up of everything that you can get, but we will make sure to share the links, and you can head over there, get your merch, and just represent the UK fan base. We are small, but we are growing. We need something. We need some wins to draw people in. We need some bandwagon fans, but to have them, you need to win games. So we'll get
there. Bandwagon fans. God, can you imagine the Falcons having bandwagon fans?
I don't listen. If my interactions with Chiefs fans today have told me anything, I don't want no bandwagon fans.
We'll stick to this.
It means we'll be winning.
Yeah.
Well, we'll stick to the core 1,000 fans that are in this country or something like that, because I know there's not that many more of us.
There's not. No.
And one thing worthy of note, and I'm gonna plug this, even though I'm not going. Any of your fellow travelers who are going to be traveling with the boys to go out to Atlanta, I'm still so upset that I can't join you guys. But yeah, once that shop's up later on this week, make sure you're going out there and repping ATL Falcons UK merch, so that everybody over there knows that
there's at least 10 of us.
And one thing that I hear all the time from people in the States who, when we say we're Falcons fans, right, is kind of like, wow, you chose this movie.
We chose this life.
Yeah, we did. Incredible. A new one. We've got a new fan on the next cover.
There we go. Sorry, I'll pop it back up.
Man like rum ham. Come on, my guy.
Love that.
Wow, you have made a decision.
It's not a good decision, but it is a life decision. So.
Welcome to the madhouse.
Yeah.
So, just in case this is the first show you've ever watched for us on winning Mondays, these shows are quite happy and upbeat, and on losing ones, they're like group therapy. So you do have to come. We don't charge for registration, but it is we do advise that you attend because it's for your greater good.
Listen, I was gutted that I wasn't putting on the chain and glasses today. So they are ready for next week.
This club braced for years of pain, he says.
Oh, they've done the research. They have done the research.
Let's just put it this way, mate. This is my 6th year, I think, and I have not yet seen a winning season. I have not yet seen us in the playoffs, and I've only seen us beat the Saints like twice. So I've been a good luck charm so far. I'm getting a few more rolling in now.
I mean, I'm
I
in
think
the
we do
air
deserve medals or something like that, to be honest with you. We should have just bandwagoned
I'm in the air
it.
and I haven't seen much more happiness than you, Danny. So
it's been a rough ride, but we're here for it. Look what it's got us. We've got a community if we've not got wins. Right.
You don't need success to be happy, but it would be nice.
It would be beneficial to my Monday mornings. Right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. It has been a pleasure. We will be back, as far as I'm aware, next Monday, unless anything changes. Hopefully, it will be a victory Monday against the Aints. Don't forget, our website drops on Wednesday. Links will be everywhere. You can get yourself some nice, pretty ATL Falcons UK merch. And Mark, it is your time to shine. If anyone's not seen the show before, I'm so sorry about this, but
don't apologize for it. This is a segment that somehow I've designed. Like this is just how we
I mean, I ask for it every single week. I could sign off and nobody'd know any different because I'd just be like, okay, end stream, bye. But here we are.
No, they'll be up.
Mark, tell everyone where they can get the show.
Guys, you can find us on YouTube if you want to watch us talking about the Falcons every week, or we are available on all podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast.
Some people just turn up just for that.
There we go. The viewers just went up by 100.
I'm gonna get some party poppers for the next time.
Yeah. T-shirt cannon.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. We will catch you all next week. It is Hate Week. See you next time.
See you next.